Again, everyone. Welcome to our open house for Kildonan's Camp Dunnabeck. My name is Yvonne Schutz, and I'll be your host today. Just a little bit about me. I've been with the Kildonan organization for the past 25 years, assisting the administration, and this will be my 6th year working with Camp Dunnabeck. This year happens to be Camp Dunnabeck's 66th birthday. We're celebrating this summer. Without further ado, I'm excited to introduce our panel of camp staff. First, we have Carl Oppenheimer. He's our senior camp director. And we have Sean Andrews, who's our camp director. Christopher Ross is an assistant camp director. He's also a parent of 2 campers. He was also a camper himself. Kathleen Stewart is our Orton Gillingham Fellow of Record. Sherry Dwyer is our Director of Language Training. Jennifer Amato, who's not here today, but I will introduce her. She is our Director of Health Services. Gail Berger is our Business Office Manager. And Ethan Rubin is our camp counselor. He's also been a mountain biking instructor for the camp. Nate Short-Tall is also a camp counselor. First, let's hear from our Senior Camp Director, Carl Oppenheimer.
Thank you, Yvonne. My name's Carl Oppenheimer. I'm the Senior Director of Camp Dunnabeck. I've been associated with the Kildonan organization since the 80s. I graduated from Kildonan in 1985, and I became a tutor at Dunnabeck in 1990. And I served on the faculty of the Kildonan School on the Amenia campus until 1990. Dunnabeck was founded in 1955 in Western Pennsylvania by Diana Hanbury King. Diana adopted the philosophy of one-on-one tutoring for every camper, combined with fun, enriching, adventurous activities. In 1980, the campus moved to the Amenia campus to merge with the Kildonan School, which Diana founded in 1969 near Soulbury, Pennsylvania. The two programs ran together until 2019, when the Amenia campus closed. We are blessed to have forged a new partnership with the Marvelwood School and excited to begin a new chapter for Dunnabeck on the Marvelwood campus. Diana's original mission continues as we begin our 66th year of daily one-on-one Orton Gillingham tutoring and fun summer camp activities like art, woodshop, horseback riding, hiking, tennis, soccer, basketball, archery, mountain biking, swimming, and others. A silver lining of the pandemic that began last year is our online program. It will continue, and it will incorporate aspects of it as hybrid components of our in-person program. And we'll discuss that more in a moment. Through the Kildonan and Marvelwood partnership, we can continue the tradition of school year placement for high school students. When appropriate, campers entering high school identified as potentially benefiting from daily one-on-one instruction all year long can apply to attend Marvelwood at Kildonan to receive the same services once offered at the Kildonan School. Like all of you, we've been navigating the many changes the pandemic has required. Marvelwood has run a successful COVID mitigation routine throughout the year with 0 cases detected on campus. Our longtime health service director and staff members will work closely with members of the Marvelwood Health Office who are joining our team. I'm now pleased to introduce a key member of the Camp Dunnabeck team. Sean Andrews is camp director. He handles most day-to-day programming and operations of camp, and he's the creator of Dunnabeck 2.1, our online program. Sean taught at Kildonan for 5 years and served as a tutor, director of assisted technology, and a coach. Thank you, Sean.
Right. Thank you, Carl. Hi, everyone. Yep, my name's Sean Andrews, and as Carl mentioned, I'm the camp director at Camp Dunnabeck, and I created Dunnabeck 2.0, our online camp, this year for 2021. It'll be Dunnabeck 2.1. This is my 8th year at Dunnabeck, and I've worked at Kildonan for 5. At both Dunnabeck and Kildonan, I worked as a language tutor, as well as the assistive technology coordinator. And through these experiences, I've learned that teaching requires remediating deficiencies, but also finding ways to personalize learning to support how each student learns best. So over the years, I've immersed myself in dyslexic culture, and it's been a pleasure to work with these amazing students and campers year after year. Working here has inspired me to continue to focus on how we can leverage technologies to support students with dyslexia. I even published my master's thesis on using digital resources to teach students with dyslexia. And currently, I'm working in Brooklyn at Bay Ridge Prep as an educational technologist for K through 12, where I continue to support the LD community through tutoring and resource training. Last year, when we found out we weren't going to be able to run an in-person camp due to COVID-19, I decided not to throw in the towel, but rather to use my skills that I've developed over these years to create an online camp that stays true to the Dunnabeck tenets of quality tutoring, developing skills, and also building a community. So this year we look forward to combining forces and providing both in-person and online options to make this program even more accessible to the children who really need it. So at Dunnabeck, we provide quality tutoring, language tutoring, which is paramount, but we also focus on encouraging and celebrating their strengths. And Dunnabeck is able to find this balance really beautifully. It's evident when you see the talent that comes out of activities such as music, art, filmmaking, woodworking, drama, sports, and watching the improvements they make in tutoring is mind-blowing. This is why I continue to come back year after year, because it is how we should approach teaching. Student-centered, not just for academic skills, but also emotional intelligence and creative passions. Every student is different, but the natural creativity, hands-on ability, and outside-the-box thinking that these kids have is just undeniable. Dunnabeck has been around for 66 years for a reason. It continues to make a lifelong impact on its campers, and I've seen many campers who've come ashamed of their dyslexia. And despite the hardships, it's truly inspirational to see the community here support and encourage each other to embrace and even celebrate their dyslexia, as they should. I'm very grateful for everything these campers and students have taught me, because there is a magic that happens here at Dunnabeck, and I'm privileged to be a part of it, and I welcome you all to join the family. So now I'm going to turn it over to Kathleen Stewart, our Fellow of Record for the camp. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean. Yeah, you said it beautifully. And I'm Kathleen, Fellow of Record. On behalf of all the dedicated Orton Gillingham practitioners who stand ready to work with your kids, I want to welcome you and thank you for coming. I work hard to make sure that all the tutoring at camp meets the very rigorous standards of the Orton Gillingham Academy. I've been with Kildonan since 2005, but the magic, which Sean so eloquently attests to, of Dunnabeck is pretty new to me. This will be my third summer with camp. And what I've learned is that summer is a really powerful time to work on reading and writing. And I think that's because of that mix that Sean is talking about, and because there's no social studies projects or math homework to deal with. So we can dive in deep and hard on the reading and writing, knowing that they're riding horses and doing archery and swimming the rest of the day, and the study hall, which Sherry will talk about. So again, as Carl and Sean said, on the academic side, every child has 1 hour, one-on-one Orton Gillingham tutoring 5 days a week. And the really critical thing that I would want the parents to understand about Orton Gillingham is that it's not scripted program. There's no teacher's manual. There's no predetermined set of what your kid is going to learn. Instead, we train, hire, and supervise, highly skilled Orton Gillingham tutors who administer testing at the beginning of camp and use that to guide instruction. And what that means is that we can meet kids who have a real splintered skill set. We might be working on some very basic sound units. At the same time, we can also have them handle some meaty prefixes and suffixes and Latin parts. We'll most certainly be working on the sentence level for writing, but we might be able to tackle paragraphs at the same time. We completely know how critical time is for your kids, and we don't waste any time teaching them things they know. And that's the beauty of the flexibility of Orton Gillingham. Personality matters too, and we work really hard to match up those tutors with the students well. And we have a pool of Orton Gillingham practitioners who return summer after summer because they really enjoy the professional learning community and the fun of camp. But most of all, they come back because it's so gratifying to see the gains that the students at Dunnabeck can make. Let me introduce Sherry, my colleague of many, many years, who serves as Director of Language Training at camp.
Thank you, Kathleen. I'm Sherry Dwyer. This is my 6th year with Camp Dunnabeck. I also worked at the Kildonan School. I came there in the year 2000, and I worked there until its closure. First as a teacher and a tutor, and then as the testing coordinator and a clinical supervisor, which assists in the training of other tutors. But I'm also the proud parent of a Kildonan graduate. So I know firsthand the struggle that both parents and students face on the road to getting an education. It is debilitating for dyslexic students to be trying so hard and doing their best, but find that they're struggling and lagging behind their peers. So finding the Kildonan school was like finding the light at the end of the tunnel for my son, because the school provided a positive and safe environment for all of its students and taught material in a way that the students could be successful and then also be with other students who shared common interests and characteristics. When I joined the Dunnabeck team 6 years ago, I was amazed at how much progress the campers make in such a short time. The stress-free environment, all the great physical activities, lend itself to creating healthy minds and healthy bodies that are open for learning. So in the tutoring, the students are in a one-to-one setting where they're in a completely safe environment, free to learn, free from the distraction of their peers, and free from the fear of failure, because they're taught in a way to be successful, and they don't have to be embarrassed about what they know or what they don't know, because they're working one-to-one very closely on what they need to be successful. So as Kathleen said, without the competing academic demands of history and social studies, the student can focus on building their language skill sets, not just in that one-to-one tutoring session, but also in the proctored study hall, which is also an hour. So they're getting 2 hours of focused language training a day. And in that study hall, they are completing special assignments that are designed specifically for them by their tutor to work on the skills that they need to be working on. As the director of language training, I oversee the tutoring. I review each student's profile. I match them up with an OG tutor, and I monitor their progress weekly in their weekly reports. And I also drop in and observe tutoring sessions. At the beginning of camp, we administer the Woodcock Reading Mastery Test, which assesses their word attack skills and their ability to ID words. We administer the test of written spelling, which assesses where they are spelling. And we administer the Gray Oral Reading Test, which measures their reading fluency, which is a combination of their rate and accuracy. And in addition to these standardized tests, this tutors administer criterion reference assessments at the beginning and at the end of camp for progress monitoring. And it's just amazing to see the growth that these students manage over the summer, not just in their skills, but in their self-confidence. They just feel so much better about themselves. And it's just a great thing to be part of it. So I'm really thankful for Diana King, for her vision and her dedication to furthering the cause of education for all of our dyslexic students. And I'm looking forward to this summer. I hope to see you there. And I'm going to turn this back over to Yvonne.
Thank you, Sherry. I mentioned earlier that Jenna Motto, she's our health director who could not be with us today, but she did send along a few things that she wants you to know. That this is her 6th year as the camp health director. And prior to that, she was a Kildonan school nurse for 5 years. The health and safety is her #1 concern. And she wants you to know that the health center maintains a 24/7 nursing staff, as well as CPR, AED, first aid, and of course the rest of us are all trained staff as well. To ensure your campus enjoyment and success at the camp, it is important to inform the health center of any allergy, health, diet, personal habits, and/or issues as soon as possible. All disclosures are kept in professional confidence, and such information is crucial to enable the staff to assign and train and supervise our counselors to best serve the needs of your camper. All campers are required to have a valid physical exam and proof of immunization. In order for your camper to be admitted to the camp, you must provide this written documentation. If your child requires medication or you have any other concerns, Jen is always available by just reaching out to the health office. And she looks forward to seeing you this summer. And now I'll turn it over to Gail at the camp office.
Thank you, Yvonne. Hi, everyone. My name is Gail Berger. I've had the pleasure of working in the business office at Kildonan for the last 10 years. I've also been part of Camp Dunnabeck for the last 5. This year, I'll be working in the camp office as well as head of the girls' dorm. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have about dorm life. I look forward to seeing everyone in July. And now I'd like to turn it over to Chris Ross, our Assistant Camp Director. Chris?
Good morning, everyone. I see a lot of young faces, and I'm really impressed that you're staying with us because this is about camp, and it's going to be really fun. And I was a camper many years ago, I guess 40 years or so. I was a camper at 10 when Dunnabeck actually first moved to Kildonan. My brother was a camper, who goes back even further. He was actually at the camp when it was in Pennsylvania. And then my daughter became a camper and my son became a camper. I actually graduated from Kildonan. I was a camper because it kept me on target with my schooling. My parents I would do the camp, and I always had a lot of fun. The things I learned at camp stayed with me actually throughout my life. From the horseback riding to doing the pottery, and my family is an artistic family. Most of us are dyslexic, so the creative element of the camp made it fun for me. But 2 summers ago, my son, who needed to I could start telling that the dyslexia was holding him back with his education. And so he came to Dunnabeck. And that's when I started becoming more involved in working at Dunnabeck. And it was the last summer that Dunnabeck was at Kildonan. And we had such a great summer. I said to Carl, Carl, everybody should do summer camp again. It doesn't matter what age you are, but we should all do summer camp again. So what I'm really looking forward to this summer is helping make this transition and making Marblewood Dunnabeck's new home, and to make this summer a great summer that we'll all be able to be together again in person, because we tried to do this last summer and we weren't able to do it. So it's been a hard year for everyone. And I'm really just excited that we're going to be able to use Marblewood's campus and be together and to play and to have campfires and go camping. Oh, we can do the tutoring stuff too, but we're going to wood shop and all the fun activities is what I'm looking forward to. So I'm going to also be in charge of the boys' dorm, so you'll see a lot of me. So I'm going to be doing the wood shop as well, and hopefully we'll do mountain biking together. So I look forward to seeing everybody this summer and answering anybody's questions at the end of this. Thank you. And I want to introduce you to another Kildonan alumni and Dunnabeck alumni, Ethan, who I also had the honor to. He was in charge. He was one of my counselors when I did the boys' dorm 2 summers ago. And so Ethan, welcome.
Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate the kind words. So my name's Ethan. I'm a camp counselor, or I was a camp counselor with Dunnabeck for 2 years. Unfortunately, this year I will not be attending the camp. I was at the Kildonan school for 3 years and attended Dunnabeck as a camper for 2, as well as being a counselor for 2 years. So it's safe to say that I have these guys in my blood, and I love them very much. As a camp counselor, it is the counselor's role to make sure that your children have an enjoyable time outside of tutoring. We know that they are going to be working extremely hard to build those language skills, those writing skills, those reading skills, the spelling skills. So it's very important that they're able to really enjoy all those activities that we're going to provide for them. In addition to providing activities, it's also important that we give the campers time to unwind. So it's important that there's a little bit of time that is unstructured where they can do what they want. And creating the balance between the very fun and physically exertive games, sports, and what have you, and the relaxing just time to unwind is the goal of the counselors, and their job is to bring those two things together in this mesh that makes the camp super exciting and enjoyable for everybody. It's also we're with your camper 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They are never unattended. That is our job, to make sure that they are always being watched, but don't feel like they're always being watched. If you have any questions about life in the dorms, or any questions about activities or anything along those lines, I'm more than happy to answer those. And now I'm going to turn it over to Yvonne.
Thank you very much, Ethan. Okay, so now I'm going to take you on a virtual tour of our campus there on the Marvelwood School. Hello and welcome to Camp Dunnabeck's virtual open house tour here on the beautiful campus of the Marvelwood School. My name is Yvonne Schutz, and I'm going to take you there. Come on. This is our first stop. This is Such House, and it is home to the administrative offices. Right this way is the entrance to the camp office. Right this way. This will be your drop-off location for your campers. If you're a day camper, let's go down and check it out. Here we are at the patio at the schoolhouse. Kids will come down here to have their attendance taken before they begin their day. This is the front entrance into the schoolhouse. There's an east and a west side to the schoolhouse. We will go into the east end right this way. Going into the library, which Camp Dunnabeck will use as their multi-purpose room. Plenty of time to sit around, relax, and read a good book. Beyond the stage here, in the multi-purpose room, is a beautiful vista and a lovely seating and picnic area. This room will go down this corridor to some classrooms and the tutoring wing. This is our tutoring wing down this way. A nice place to sit and wait for your tutor. Or here, or here. Here's one of the tutoring hallways into multiple tutoring rooms. Now we'll go up to the west wing of the schoolhouse. Here is the camp director's office. The director's office overlooks the schoolhouse patio. I'm here with one of my friends in our science and nature lab. Let's go to the athletic center. Here we are at the athletic center. Let's go into the gym. Basketball, anyone? Welcome to Lake Dorm. Right this way. Here is a convenience area for the dorms. Here we are in the dining hall. Chef Paul of Sage Dining Services will be providing meals for us this summer. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed our tour of a beautiful campus. And I'd like to now turn it over back to our camp director, Carl Oppenheimer, who will speak a little bit about our special guests that have joined us here today. Take it away, Carl. You need to unmute, please.
Thank you, Yvonne.
You're welcome.
So a couple of really important components of camp are parents and kids. So I'm going to introduce you to three of our former and current campers. One is a current camper, Haley, Alma, and Eleanor. But I also want to introduce you to Elizabeth Wells, who is Eleanor's mom. And so, Elizabeth, I wonder if you would like to share your perspective as a parent.
Oh, sure. So Eleanor here is 11, and she started at Dunnabeck as a day camper back in 2019 when she was 9. So she was on campus doing all the on-campus activities, and then I'd pick her up at 5:30 and she'd, come home, eat dinner and crash. And last summer, she was an online camper. And so she did, her daily hour of OG tutoring with Jana. And then we also did an add-on class with one-on-one writing tutoring that she did with Shannon. And so, she made a lot of progress last summer, even just being online, which was great for her. And then this year, now that she's 11, she says she's ready to board. And so she's going to board at Dunnabeck this summer. And she's really looking forward to it. One of the best things for her and being at Camp Dunnabeck is being around other dyslexic students. She goes to a school where she's the only dyslexic in her class, and she previously has, felt very alone, and she's the only one, and no one understands. But being with other dyslexic kids over the summer and seeing, hey, there's a lot of there's a lot of them. And there's also, she's around dyslexic adults as well. And just seeing, you know, people are successful even with dyslexia. And she really came back from camp that first year feeling very self-confident and very proud of being dyslexic, and that, you know, it's okay, it's fine, it's even actually pretty good to have a learning difference. So I was really happy with that part, that she came back so full of self-confidence and very proud and just ready to tackle school. And she felt ready. I felt she was ready. And, you know, she's been doing great. So that was, I think, the biggest benefit was just, you know, her self-confidence.
That's great. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Mhm.
Eleanor, I'd like to ask you if you would share your favorite thing about being at Dunnabeck.
Just,
A few of my favorite things of being at Camp Dunnabeck was horseback riding and woodworking.
do you like to show your drum? Show them what you made.
Oh,
I have drum.
Yeah. So this is
great.
the drum she made that back when her first year in person. So can you?
I have drum.
Yes, would you please, Devin? Oh yeah, she did that all herself, like with whatever tools Chris gave her. I don't know. I don't know what they did. She just came home with it.
That's great.
But didn't I show you to it before
No, I didn't see it until the very end.
Yes, but still, I did bring it home. You saw it first before we brought it home.
Fine, I saw it at the show off to the parents bit. Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you,
We're
Eleanor.
gonna beat you now, Eleanor.
We also have with us Haley. Haley, can you also tell us your favorite things about Dunnabeck?
Yeah, I think one of my favorite things was everyone's creativity. It was a very creative space. Like, we did a lot of cool things in photography and the ceramics, and I got to take a bunch of those pieces home, and I still have some that are like hanging on my walls right now. And another big part of it was the friendships I've made. Like, I went for 4 years, and I came out with a lot closer new friends. And yeah, it was overall just a really fun thing to participate in.
Great. Thank you, Haley. And I believe we also have Alma.
Hi everyone, my name's Alma.
Hi, Alma. If you could also share your favorite things about Dunnabeck, that would be great.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree about confidence. I think before coming to Dunnabeck, my confidence about being dyslexic was a little bit low. And then afterwards, seeing like the friends that I've had and, you know, having these coincidences with other dyslexic campers was a big help. And then I think also I agree with Haley about the friends that I've made just by, you know, being there and being around other people. And, you know, it was just an overall really good experience. So, and I think I definitely came out better. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. So, some great testimonials from some former and current campers and a parent. So I'm going to hand it back to Yvonne.
Okay, great. Thank you, Carl. I think this is the point here. Now we're going to open the floor up to some questions and answers. So if you have a question, raise your hand, or you could use the chat on the side. There's a chat speech bubble on the bottom. You can type in your question there. Do you have any questions? Remember to unmute your mic. Okay, I don't, oh, I see. Haley, did you have a question? No? Oh, Teo. Welcome, Teo. How are you?
This is Theo.
Okay.
Hi.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm myself laugh.
Are
There's
you okay?
nothing funny about this.
Okay. What's your question, sweetheart?
Will there be roommates this year? And how would you do how would the archery stuff work?
Okay, yes, we will have roommates this year. Have always been a big fan of having kids have roommates. Earlier on, I was a little worried that, because of COVID, we might not be able to do that. But I have, first of all, Marvelwood, which runs a school year program, and it's the school where we're going to be, has been assigning kids roommates all year long, and they've been very successful. As I said earlier, their COVID mitigation program has been extremely successful. So yes, we will have roommates. Archery, we have an archery instructor who's been coming, he's been with us for, gosh, it's well over 10 years. And he's really good. He runs little, first of all, he teaches you to very well. And then he runs little mini competitions, and then there's a big competition at the end. And he gives out little awards and prizes. So I know that folks have a lot of fun in our archery program. Sometimes it's the course will move, so you'll not while you're shooting, but he'll change the locations of the targets so that there's a little variety.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's try Teo again. He has his hand raised. No.
First, okay.
Right.
Well,
I
have a question.
You do?
Yeah.
Is the hand raised?
I don't know. Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Oh no, there's another Teo.
Oh,
There's a Teo and a
Mhm.
Theo, and we've been answering for Teo.
Oh,
Our
okay.
apologies.
I don't hear Teo coming through, so Theo, why don't you go ahead?
I thought it was when you said Teo, I thought it was just another
Theo.
common mispronunciation. It's not. If you were trying to say my name, it wasn't. It was definitely not as bad as people who say Theo.
So this would be Theo's first occasion really staying away from home for any significant period of time.
Especially without you guys.
Right.
I
So
stayed away from home for a few weeks, but I haven't done it without.
well,
people.
right, by yourself, right? Without
Yeah.
us. Yeah. So we wanted to know, how do you support students who are maybe feeling homesick?
So
Great.
I'm sorry, Yvonne.
No, go ahead. Go right ahead.
So we have a great staff of counselors who, they'll spend they're all day with the kids, and they're responsible for them in the evening. So they'll be, these little family groups, and they are good at, finding ways to get kids involved and keep them active, and help them through some homesickness. One of our counselors is actually someone who was a camper, so can relate on that level in terms of what it was like for him to adjust to being away from home, and we'll help you all through it. But the other thing is, you know, we will try to focus on all the fun that you're going to have while you're at camp. So those are some of the ways we're going to help you with that.
I'd just like to thank you, Carl. Say that my experience at the camp, the homesickness actually starts at home. The parents have more homesickness sometimes than the camper. The first week is really the hardest because there's no phone calls home, but there is communication from us from camp. We take lots of pictures and we share them with our families. And so you can see what they're doing every day. You'll have their own schedule. You'll see what they're eating. But I'd also encourage Gail and Chris to give some feedback. Both of them are dorm parents. So they're there in the dorms with your kids. Gail?
Thanks, Yvonne. Yeah, you know, it depends on the child. You know, some are more homesick than others, but, you know, we try to find ways that'll work for your child. A lot of times I'll use, you know, I'll have an older camper or someone who's been there before, like Carl said, and, you know, talk to your child to try to help them through the homesickness. Sometimes they're just homesick and they just have to work through it, but we're there to support them the whole time. So, you know, whether I try to joke about them and get them to talk about home, sometimes that works. Sometimes talking to the older kids or kids who have already been there, you know, just whatever they need to support them, we're going to find a way to do that for them. And it's true, a lot of times the parents are more homesick than the kids. But that's okay though, because it's all a learning experience and I think everybody grows from it. So I think it's a great opportunity for your child.
Thank you.
And I'd like to, if I could I just want to address some of these chat questions there. I think they're waiting to hear something. So Colleen asks to talk a little bit more about the online camp piece. So we do try to, you know, model as best we can what we do in person with the sort of online activities, but, you know, but make it, you know, more tailored to what you can do online. So, you know, Paramount is the Orton Gillingham tutoring. So we still provide 1 hour of OG tutoring with a tutor online. And then we also do still provide camp activities, which again are more tailored to online experiences. So we have a documentary filmmaker who works with us, who is doing a film class that you know, last year she had a couple students making their own short documentary films. We have another a teacher who is she's a computer programmer, and she developed these 3D virtual worlds, which we had actually also used as a platform to use within the campus, the online campus. So she was doing building virtual world class so that students can actually learn how to create these virtual worlds themselves. She's also a published author, so she was doing a creative writing class where, and this one wasn't so much about the actual writing process as much as storytelling. And for students that took both of these classes, you could sort of create a story and then build this virtual world to reflect that story. So, you know, it's really fun activities that, you know, are kind of specific to being online. And then the other third part of the camp that's really important is the social aspect. So using these virtual worlds and some Zoom sessions, we've created different events where we'd have people to get together. We had online concerts. So we had within the virtual world a live stream of really great musicians that we'd all get together and dance with our avatars. And so this year, you know, I'm looking for ways that we can actually create a hybrid experience where we're you know, making sure it's not just siloed tutoring, but, you know, we can find opportunities for everyone to sort of get to know each other, you know, in whichever camp that they're in. Another question, is there a schedule of activities throughout the day, or are campers allowed to select activities of interest? So a little bit of both. We will provide a list of the activities available, and the students, campers will number what they want to do the most. There's no guarantee that there's some activities that do have a certain a cap on how many students can join it, but we do our best to really accommodate. And in the past we've been pretty successful for getting the students to be able to do what they'd like to do. So if you put something down as your number one choice, chances are you're most likely going to be able to do that. And then halfway through, we'll give another opportunity to pick another set of activities. So if you've been doing one thing for 3 weeks and you want to try something else, or if you really like it and you want to keep doing it, you've got that opportunity too. So there are, there's opportunities for you to definitely pick the things that you enjoy.
How would the sorry, this is Teo and Tracy. How does the activity selection differ from the boarding campers versus the day campers? Because I know the day campers is such a smaller group, and I guess the decision is you're not intermingling the groups this year, correct? So how would that activity selection occur? Do they all have to go to the same activity? How does that work?
No, we have, so each activity is going to have a couple of different time slots. So, we will try to, and typically in years past, we do try to group, ages together for the most part. I mean, there are some exceptions where, you can intermingle the ages, but this year we are trying to keep them in cohorts. So, so that kind of works naturally with that. So we'll have a couple of different activity times, and that way we can keep them all together that way.
If I may clarify part of that, if part of the question relates to whether, relates to COVID protocols, first of all, we're going to try to do most of our activities outside. And so, there may be times when we can distance enough, but, we will also be observing mask wearing. So, in terms of kids intermingling, they will be intermingling. There just may be certain situations where we are needing to wear masks.
Yeah, and that's wonderful. I think I guess the question for us, for Tracy and I, was more because Devis our son is on the younger side. Would he have to sit out of it if the whole day camp group decided they're going mountain biking and he can't ride a bike? Is that something where he has to be set aside or do something else? Or how does that work for him so he could have an experience as well as part of the larger group?
They're not necessarily all going to be doing the same activities at the same times. So there are different options. So, there's nothing to say that they all have to kind of be at the same exact activity. So they'll choose the ones that they enjoy the most, and so they'll always have something to do. If most of their group maybe has one activity, there would be another one available for them to do. So we'll definitely make sure that they're that they have things to do. So yeah, we're going to fill up each of those spots in their schedule with something they enjoy, and then make sure obviously that they're being safe and careful with the protocols.
Thank you. Thanks.
Great, thank you.
I do want to address a protocol related question, and I do see that there are some other hands up. So one question is related to a pre-camp quarantine period. So just to let you know, I realize that between now and the start of camp, there may be some changes from the CDC, but I have to function on the idea that, on the assumption like if camp were opening tomorrow, this is what we would be doing. So at this point, I would say that there is, we would ask that before you arrive at camp, you, sort of remain, somewhat in quarantine. Quarantine is becoming this, a new definition. But basically, avoid going out to public places and things like that. Observe, the understood quarantine for, at this point, it is 7 days. It may change between now and camp. And then what we would also, again, at this point need is to see the results of a negative PCR test. That PCR is very important. We will also be doing testing on site. but we do need the PCR in hand or sent to us 3 days before you arrive at camp. The test needs to be done 3 days before camp.
Carl, if you could mention that the staff will be vaccinated and tested.
Yes. Yeah, staff will be tested, possibly tested and vaccinated, but you know, our goal is both. But
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Maria Garcia, do you have a question? Unmute your mic. Thank you.
Yeah, I do. It actually kind of builds on that quarantining and testing question. If we have that parents' weekend and then we bring our child back and forth, you know, they leave campus, what does that entail in terms of bringing them back? Is there additional testing that has to be done? And are we going to have the parents' weekend where we go there and pick them up and bring them home and then have them for the weekend and then bring them back to campus? And does that mean we need more testing?
So we will not be able to have the traditional parents' weekend where you take your child for the weekend and then come back, because it would sort of break our bubble. But what we are planning is a day where we can set aside some time on campus for you to spend with your child, and share. You could share a meal. You could things like that. And we'll set up outside tables and stuff so that. But we would need to preserve our bubble, and so we can't have you take your child for the weekend.
I actually was concerned about having to take them back. That's my question. So I'm kind of relieved that you're saying we're not taking them back and forth. Okay, so it would just be a visit. They don't leave the camp. They don't leave camp, but it's okay. That makes more sense to me than bringing them back and forth if we're trying to make a bubble, actually. In terms of communication with our children while they're away, am I to understand that they are not supposed to have any of their own electronic devices?
Correct. No screens, no phones. If they need to use a computer as part of their tutoring, the tutor will have that computer. If you want it to be their own device, the tutor will, keep it in their tutoring space. But in the dorms and around campus, we don't use any screens or devices.
Is there any way, if our child needed to communicate with us, is it discouraged that they communicate with us during this time? Like if they felt the need to have to communicate, what would, do they approach an adult and say, we need to talk to our parent, or it's just not really something that we would encourage or even explore?
Well, we discourage it because it detracts a little from the, keeping them active in camp and the schedule. But there is a time each week where each group there's a set aside time for them to make phone calls home. And then if there is a pressing issue that they really need to speak with you, we would arrange that. But we do try to, make it, once a week during that scheduled time.
Okay. And that's a time that you make us aware of so we would know around when to expect. And it's up to the camper. If they didn't feel like engaging, then they don't?
I usually make them call either way.
And we do encourage also, writing letters and, making some art. And so I think that ends up being, that sort of lost trade of, sending a letter that I think really adds a little something special too, and allows them to kind of keep that communication open too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Let's call on Shavetta. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Great, welcome.
Thanks. So I had a couple of questions. First one is, during the one-to-one tutoring, do they also learn how to use technology like speech to text or typing, or is it all just, the OG tutoring?
Sherry?
Could you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, you're muted, Sherry.
During the tutoring, the text to speech, I mean, I would like to refer that to you, Sean, because during the language training, we're working on basic fundamental skills and building those up. But I know that you also did technology evaluations, and that might be an elective that was done.
And if I could also jump in there for 1 second, what I would say is it depends. The question of how best to elicit good writing out of our students, in most cases, given that it veers toward the younger ages, we would veer toward the basics of handwriting. There's a lot of research that writing things by hand can boost retention. But if we've got a camper on the older side who's heading to high school, the judgment may be made that it's in their best interest to use some of the technologies which are available. So the answer, just like everything else in the OG tutorial, is going to depend on the kid. And the question of when is the right time to introduce those technologies is wide open. There needs to be lots more research. So we rely on our diagnostic prescriptive sense, looking at the child and their age. Certainly we're not going to have someone in the very younger grades. We're going to work on that letter formation. But if a camper on the older side, we're going to look carefully at what the writing skills are and what is the best way to advance those skills over the intervention of the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
my son is going into high school. That's what I was wondering.
Right. So we're not, if your son doesn't know cursive, we're not going to start teaching cursive at this juncture. It would be silly. It just depends.
Are there a lot of students that are high school age at the camp?
It goes all the way from 8 to 16.
Okay.
Yes, we have a lot of applicants that are in the older age group. Actually, we have a very, all the groups are dispersed. So it's 8, 9, and 10, which we have a nice amount of campers for. And then 11, 12, and 13, and or 13, 14, no. 14, 15, 16 is the older group and we do have a large, a nice number of campers that age.
Okay.
Yeah, and to just piggyback off of what Kathleen was saying, the tutoring sessions, we only have 6 weeks and then 1 hour each day, and so we really want to make sure that in those times that we're focusing on whatever the tutor sees as the most pressing needs. And if it is something that, they feel an assistive technology would help, I've been the assisted technology coordinator for the past 8 years. So I'm very versed in what's out there and which things can support this. So I would then definitely work with the tutors to make sure that they have the tools needed to help with that. But even if they really are just focused on sort of the language skills and not so much the technology, I'm also going to provide workshops throughout the camp where we are exposing the students to what's out there and giving them time to practice that. I think it's really important that we are remediating, but we also want to work at both ends where what's great about the assistive technologies is that we find how they learn best and where if it's visual or audio or a combination of those things that really help them bring out their ability to understand text. That's something I do want to have them leave with those skills with them that they can use to help not with both ends, being able to remediate and help with the reading and writing, and just because everyone learns differently, and so I think it's important that we provide those tools.
Okay. The other question I had was that my son gets homework from his regular academic year school for the summer. So is that something he would be able to do during camp, like during the study hall or something like that? Or is there not enough time for it?
I would like to handle that. It depends on what the work is. Because as we said in the beginning, what we're doing during the language training is specifically what that child needs. And sometimes those homework assignments might fit in nicely with what they need, and sometimes they might not. And so the job of the tutor is not to help them do their homework. The job of the tutor is to teach them specific skills that they need. There is, so that one-to-one session, they may be able, like if they're reading, they might do some reading comprehension, because I know a lot of times he probably has a reading list. And so the tutor may incorporate that and make bridges and connections to that. If your son gets math homework, and then he could sign up for math tutoring, and so that would help him in that area. And in the evening, there's quiet time, there's reading time, silent reading, and if he has other work that he needs to get caught up on, that the tutor doesn't want to use the LT time to do, there is that quiet time in the evening. And maybe Sean, you could speak more to that.
Yeah, we had, the last time we were in person, we had an older student who had some work to do, and we were able to, he was able to find time in the evenings to work on it. If needed, in that situation, he needed a computer, and we were able to provide him with one just to get some of his work done. You know, the computer being under the counselor's responsibility and supervision in that case. But yeah, absolutely. You know, I think if that's something that, you know, we don't want them missing out on other things and getting behind in other ways. So, you know, we will find times within the day to accommodate whatever it is that they do need. But I would agree with Sherry that within that tutoring time, you know, we really need to trust what's going on with the tutor-tutee relationship to make sure that we are focusing on what they really need and not just getting distracted with potential busy work. But, you know, we do want to give an opportunity to be able to, you know, make sure that they stay on top of whatever it is that they need to do.
Okay, thank you so much.
Before we answer any more, the chat questions, we have, let's see. Haley's mom is Lori, up there in the corner there. Do you have a question?
Hi, yeah, a couple. So I know with COVID, it might be hard to answer, but what's the average number of campers? And if you could tell me like the ratio of day campers to border campers.
So this year we're expecting about 40 campers, at the most maybe 60. So we're a small camp, we're specialized, and so we only accept campers we feel that we can help. And the ratio to right now, there are more boarding campers than there are day campers, and that's traditional. Usually there are more boarding campers than there are day campers. So.
Okay. And could you go into a little bit more detail about a half-day camper schedule? And I mean, I'm going to assume that not everyone's being tutored at the same time. So are some kids being tutored while there are activities going on? Or
that's a good question. So every camper, whether they're a day camper, a full day camper, or a boarding camper, has their own schedule. And their schedule is made, Sean is the master whiz at making schedules. And so he coordinates the campers' activities in and around the campers' tutoring, one-to-one tutoring, and the study hall. So, and then halfway through camp, there's an opportunity to change those activities. There'll also be group activities, both in the morning and in the afternoon, that the campers participate in, which won't be on the schedule, but they're there. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Maybe Sean, you can elaborate on the kids' schedule.
Yes. Yeah, so I mean, I think with the half-day campers, you know, you're going to, you know, still be able to pick which, you know, which activities you're interested in. But yeah, it's not going to then include, you know, after the activities, right? We will have like swimming and other things like that. And so typically for a half day, you know, they're going to end usually a little bit before that. But they'll still have their pick of what activities are there. It just may not be, you know, as many periods as a full day.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And we'll definitely make sure tutoring and the study hall, it's all balanced in there as well.
Okay. Stephen has a question on the chat for Sean.
Yeah, about could the program accommodate a push-in math lesson? So we do provide math tutoring. So for both online and in person, we have a math tutor that we could, if that's something, it is an extra additional one that's not necessarily included with the base cost there, but yeah, absolutely. I think we do provide either half an hour or hour, although we do suggest, I think, to really be able to, I think with the half-hour classes, the goal is sort of to just prevent that summer slip. While if you're taking a full hour each day, you're really trying to make gains and really catch up to, if there's students behind in math. So yeah, if you're interested in math, let us know, and we can definitely help set that up and put that into the schedule.
Stephen had a two-part question in the chat. He was talking about the building of the virtual wall. Is that for online campers only, or
No,
can
no.
in-person residential camp participate?
Yeah, so that's one of the, I think, the exciting things about having this sort of hybrid online and in-person camp is that, where we've got sort of these online teachers, I don't see any reason why we can't, to combine the two worlds. So I do plan on having the opportunity for students that want to join the building virtual worlds is to then would have sort of a like a computer lab area where they can then join the teacher. The teacher wouldn't be an in-person teacher, she would be online, but I think that that works because really it's the essence of this class is being online and being in this sort of virtual immersive environment. So yeah, absolutely. I would really, that's something that is kind of one of my big interests is all of the things with programming and 3D modeling and the potential that these virtual environments have. I've been actually really kind of immersed in this technology for a long time now, and I've met a lot of really great instructors who are also in that, and that's sort of how I came across Evie, who's the instructor. So yeah, absolutely. I don't see any reason why we would be able to then provide some of these great activities that are online, and also be able to provide some space for the in-person campers to also experience that too and participate if they're interested.
Okay, and I'd just like to finish up with Stephen. His last question here is about additional tutoring and extending beyond the OG and the study hall time to accommodate additional tutoring. So we have in the past provided extra tutoring time. It's an additional cost, but we like to remind you it is summer. It is summer after all, and so having a double period, we would never do a 2-hour tutoring session. That would just be way too long for anyone. So their schedule would need to be built in around an extra tutoring session. But when you add in more academics, you're taking away more active time from camp. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and just to follow up too, I think I agree with Yvonne. It's a fine balance, and again, we do want to be able to look at and see what your students' needs are, and if extra support is necessary, we could provide that. But we do. It is a fine balance. There's only so many periods within the day, and we do want to make sure that they're able to participate in the other activities too, because they're not just there just to just a fun thing. What I see is that there's a lot of really great skills that, because one of the big things I find with this, with the dyslexic community is that, they really shine when they're, the creative side, using their hands-on abilities. And it's, I think, also a crucial part of building that confidence and saying like, hey, here's something, even though, the reading and writing I'm really struggling with, but here's something over here that I'm really finding success in, and I'm actually really, really good at. So, we do want to make sure that we have that balance, and we do realize, with a lot of you here, the academics is really important, and it's frustrating when you get behind. So we do want to make sure that we're providing anything we can to make sure that they're not only, you know, not going back, keeping up with that summer slip, but also being able to make that progress forward. So if that's something, you know, you really feel strongly about, we're happy to have a conversation and try and come up with a schedule that's going to best fit your students' needs.
Okay.
Yvonne, if I could just address a short question from Jamie Goodrich. Yes, students can receive packages. I encourage parents to send mail, and we will encourage students to send mail to you. You know, we talked a little bit about the phone earlier, that it sort of exacerbates homesickness, which is true. But what does not exacerbate homesickness is sending or receiving mail. So send tons of mail to your kids while they're at camp. We will help them do the same to you. And what we would ask, though, is that you not send large packages of food, especially candy and things like that. You know, there's all sorts of reasons why kids in general shouldn't have a lot of sugar, and sometimes some researchers would say our kids in particular. But so we just try to keep that limited. But I understand, you know, the kids love to get care packages from home, and we want you to send them. It may be the case that when they arrive, we will collect them and hold on to food items. First of all, you know, we're out in the wilderness out there, and we don't want the creepy crawlies coming into the dorms. But we also, you know, we want to extend some limits to the amount of sort of junk food that the kids are eating. And they will be eating pretty well in the dining hall. The food is pretty well prepared and nutritious. So, and it's actually quite tasty too. So your kids, I don't think your kids are going to go hungry while they're with us.
So thank you, Carl. Yeah, so I think Gail could, you know, the dorm heads could talk about, you watch the kids open their packages. So we discovered, I just want to speak on behalf of the nurse who's not here with us today. We have lots of kids who have allergies. And so especially nuts, do not send nuts. So we'll go nuts to remove the nuts. So no nuts. And so just be a little mindful. So if we take away something that from your child, it's for health reasons, for the benefit of all. Okay.
I'd like to add to that.
Thank you.
I'd like to add to that. Also, when you send packages, keep in mind that not all the kids are going to get a ton of packages. It does, you know, some kids will get packages all the time and other kids won't get any. And that's no fault of anybody's. And I encourage you, if you do send something, if you could send something like a craft that we could do at night, that everybody can share in. And then that way, you know, your child's like, oh, look at what my mom said or what my dad said. We can go ahead and one night we can, you know, go ahead and do that activity. Then everybody gets to join in, because it's all about everybody working together and being there for each other. So I really like to have the kids, you know, benefit from, say, a package. There's nothing wrong with sending a package, with sending some food, like Carl said. You know, a lot of times we will limit what they can have, and that's just for their sake and our sake. So, you know, please send packages, but just be mindful that, you know, maybe send something that everybody can enjoy or everyone can use, and we can do a craft with it.
And Gail, if I could just pivot for 1 second from candy to crafts to cursive. There was a question about teaching cursive to a high school student. The answer is it depends always. Writing is an important part of Orton-Gillingham remediation, and how we approach it depends on the individual. So if someone were entering high school and their letter formation was sound, their manuscript looked good, and there was no support in their school for cursive, we would not teach cursive, even though there's sound reasons why cursive has benefits for dyslexics. So it really depends on the child and their situation, and what are the demands and what is supported at school. So there could be a situation where it made sense to teach it at the high school level. Probably more likely it wouldn't. But all those decisions are made by the individual. What is going to help advance their writing as powerfully and as quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you, Kathleen. Just to finish up some of these questions, Lori, you asked about a sample schedule that was sent to you in a brochure. On the 2-page brochure has a sample of our daily schedule. I can send you that.
Was that in an email?
Yes, that would be in the email.
I'll search for it. I knew I saw it somewhere. I just couldn't remember where. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Jamie asked about thinking a new book or stuff to use during downtime. Sure, send in a book. If you have a game or something that they want to do in their downtime, that would be fine to send in. Let's see, did I miss anybody? I have some more hands up. Let's see. Elizabeth, did you have another question?
Yes, and this has to do with dorm downtime.
Okay.
Eleanor would like to know if Gail, the dorm mom, knows how to knit. Because that was one of the activities that Eleanor was planning for her dorm downtime, except for she's not very good at casting on and casting off.
Well, when I was in high school, I had a class called leisure crafts, and I did learn to knit, but it's been a really, really long time. So if I had a little instruction, I probably could help her.
Okay, or as long as you can watch, the video device and watch the YouTube tutorial, and then pass it along to her.
Yes, yes, I'm sure we could figure it out.
Okay, great. That's what she needed to know.
Okay. There's still some hands up. Shavetta, did you have another question? Maria, did you have another question?
Yes, I was just wondering, when you broke down the ages, you said 11, 12, 13. I have a 13-year-old, but he's going to be first year high school. Does that matter? Like, he seems to be always in the tail end of, like, when he goes to camp, people seem to be like a year a year older than him. No, a year younger, I think. Yeah, so
we can take that into account.
I'm sorry?
We can take that into account when we place him.
Okay, because he's going to be entering high school. He's 13, but that's because he's a December child. But I find that's when in other camps that he seems to be with the younger group because they base it on grade rather than I guess age rather than grade. I don't know what I'm saying, but he seems to end up with kids younger.
Yep, I get what you're saying.
Well, Carl, if I could also take this real quick. One of the things we've been considering is in the past, we've had the junior, middler, and senior groups and divided into 3. I think this year too, in order to sort of, with pairing with the counselors and making it sort of like, so it's evenly distributed we were considering just doing 2 groups where it's sort of the younger half and the older half. And if we were to do it that way, then he would be more in the older half. But it does, I think, for some of the scheduling and the way, if, rather than separating 3 different groups, if we were to separate 2 different groups. So we were looking into doing it that way. And I think and for scheduling reasons, it makes a lot of sense.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, did we have any more questions? I see some hands up still. Lori, did you have another question? No. Elizabeth, did you have another question? No. Okay, and I think we've just about answered all the questions in the chat. Does anyone see ones we didn't answer?
Well, I think there's a couple things. I know, Stephen, you said you'd like to set up a conversation to talk about, the balancing the academics and everything. So, I mean, if there's anything else that anyone, would like to follow up on and maybe not right now or today, I'm happy to schedule a conversation with anyone, or if there's a specific person that would fit it would be best to answer that question, we can always get you in contact with anyone who would be the best for that. If you'd like, I could also the sample schedule. I've got it up. I could share it right now, and there's been some tweaks and adjusting to a little bit, just making sure where we have time for the swimming and all that. But if you'd like, I could go ahead and share that right now. There you go. So basically we have, in the morning, we have a, 10-minute morning meeting that we will, just give announcements and get the day started. So we've got 3 blocks. So each of these are an hour long, 5-minute breaks. Then we have a half an hour lunch, which is nice. Everything's all very close to, so it's not like, the past campus, there was like sort of a bit of a hike to get all the way up the hill to where we ate. And, a lot of the kids dreaded that, but now it's much more accessible. And then after lunch, we've got 2 more block activities followed by swimming, our free time so that they can shower up and, have a little downtime before. And then we'll do, we've got independent reading. So we'll have a half an hour of independent reading. Oh, so that's something that will be adjusted. I think we're just doing a half an hour. They are definitely more than welcome to continue the reading if they'd like to. And hopefully we hope that they, get into it and want to continue that at bedtime. But we've got dinner and then evening activities. So, as we get closer, just to make sure there may be just a little, adjustments. And the bedtime is slightly different for the juniors versus the seniors too. So that's why there's a question mark there, because it depends on which group you're in.
Sean, there's a question about what time did the half-day campers leave? And I think in the past they left right before lunch, and lunch was scheduled more at 1 o'clock. So would they still have their 2 activities and their tutoring and the study hall?
Yes. Yeah. I think that's
so where there's lunch, that camper would have an activity or tutoring or study hall. So they would have 4 blocks,
right,
in a half a day.
Right.
Okay. All right. How are the weekends spent? Shavetta would like to know.
So on the weekends, we go on different trips. Some of those trips will be camping trips where, we'll go to a campsite, camp out, stay in a tent. Some of those trips will be, day hikes, trips to a swimming area. There's a place nearby that we can possibly use a ropes course and an adventure course, and other attractions in New England. So that's what weekends would be. Weekend programming would involve.
So at registration, you'll receive a list of places that we might go to, and on your parent portal, there'll be a schedule of the week or the weekend of where we're going. So you'll be able to follow us along. Well, don't join us there, but you'll be able to see where we're going.
I also want to remind you, Sean mentioned that we have those virtual concerts. We'll try to be bringing those, into a hybrid world of virtual and real. So those would probably be Friday night events. And then there are some drive-in movie theaters in the area where, it can be kind of fun to go out and bring some lawn chairs and watch a drive-in movie. So we did a number of those 2 years ago.
So Shavetta has another question, and I'm sorry, our nurse is not here to answer it, and she wants to know how we deal with the risk of Lyme disease. And Jen is very thorough. If anyone should get a tick or anything, she's very adept at handling it. But we do screen the kids. They do self-checks, clothing checks, body checks. And so we teach them there at the dorms when they come back at the end of the day.
I can address that a little more in
Okay,
depth. Being that I was the mountain biking instructor, ticks are a very real and present danger in the woods. And the best we can do to mitigate against them is at the end of the day, all campers are supposed to take a shower, and they're instructed to self-check themselves over for any spots, freckle-esque things that look like it doesn't belong there. And if that happens, we'll take them to Jen, and Jen can diagnose from there what needs to happen. In most cases, Lyme disease takes 24 hours for the tick to have been attached to you to become a problem. I mean, it can happen faster than that. That's when it's Jen's discretion to determine. If I am so fortunate as to get a tick out in the woods, I will show the campers what a tick looks like before it's engulged itself. Obviously, if a tick's engulged itself, it'll be a lot easier to spot, and then we can get that sorted out immediately, and we'll bring the camper to Jen. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, great. I don't think I see any more hands, and I don't see any more questions in the chat. So if there are...
I got one question.
That one? Okay.
In the chat, it says, do we send the tick out for testing? I think that's a Jen question.
That is a Jen question. Carl, do you have any?
Yeah, I was going to say that I don't know the answer to that, but I will check with Jen. And I know we've brought her specimens before. So.
Yes, we have.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
So I'm sorry, I keep going back to half-day campers, but that's what we're leaning towards.
That's okay.
So is there a place in their schedule for them to have a snack? Because it just seems like a long time from drop-off to pick up, which if I'm getting it right would be about 12:45. Because they wouldn't be eating lunch there.
Yeah, we provide snacks for all the campers. It's usually, I believe, it's between second and third periods. So when they're leaving that, we'll have snacks and plenty of water, and I mean the water is out, all day long, so that they can always fill up their water bottles and have that. But yeah, absolutely, yeah, it's a long day, and they're active and their brains are active, so we want to make sure that
especially when they're used to eating at school at 11 o'clock lunch. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. So make sure they get a little something there too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Well, thank you all for joining us. If you have any more questions, feel free to give the camp office a call. And if I can answer your question, I will ask one of our wonderful staff here who's joined us here today. Get in touch with you. And thank you for joining us.
Hi, my name is Tristan Misha. I've been here for 3 years now. The camp's not only a camp for reading and writing, it also has a lot of other cool things like sports activities, music, mountain biking, horseback riding, and in that I've learned how to get better at playing the guitar and playing piano and bass.
Hi, my name is Max, and at Camp Dunnabeck, I learned to be a better speller, to be better at archery, and to be better at woodwork.
Hi, my name is Haven, and I didn't know I was good at mountain biking until I came here.
Hi, my name is Peyton. I got better on mountain biking, and I want to get better on technical riding.
So I wanted to get better at horseback riding, so I chose that as an activity for me to do here at camp. And I cantered for the first time, which is faster than walking and trotting, and it was really fun.
Hi, my name's Declan, and I learned how to write cursive.
Hi, my name is Jade, and at Camp Dunnabeck, I've learned to be more confident in asking for help when I need it.
I wanted to come to camp because I wanted to learn how to read more fluently and read, like, become a better overall reader. And all my, like, tutors in the past years, they, like, helped me with that by, like, teaching me how to do script and, like, decode sentences and, like, pick apart sentences and paragraphs.
Hi, my name is Sergey Kelly, and at this camp I learned many things, not just writing and reading, but getting good at sports and learning the piano. I do succeed in English and reading, but this camp has made me improve in many things.